Well, hey there, slot car adventurers. And in the wake of Tropical Cyclone Alfred, the good news is we didn't do too bad at all. There was certainly some damage around the suburb. Trees down, completely uprooted here and there. Some trees that have been there quite a long time. Have a look at these coming up here on the left. Totally ripped out by the roots. But they are fairly youngish trees. There's a bigger one down here, and it has been completely uprooted. Yeah, that one. Down along this way towards where we are, there's not a lot of damage, but there's more trees pulled out. One up here, further up on the left, but our property in there behind the trees is not too bad at all. But yeah, look at this tree. It's completely knocked over by the wind. And our palm trees, well, they're perfectly okay. And yeah, looks like Hughes Garage is here to fight another day. Definitely. So folks, let's get into this week's episode and put together a white kit, hey? A Slot.it Nissan GTR Nismo GT3. As most of you know, just before Christmas I shouted myself my very first white kit. In this case, it's the Slot.it Nissan GTR Nismo GT3. Lots of little bits to put together, lots of painting to do. I've got my Tamiya paints, including some metallic red for the body. And as you can see right here, here's how it turned out. I did show you some pictures previously on a different episode. Since then I've done some masking and done some more detail work with the black paint, front, rear, sides, also some little silver highlights down there. And now I'm looking at all these little bits and pieces that have to go together. Some of them will need to be painted, others won't. And the real challenge will be the decals, which I don't believe I've ever done before. I also have these other two Slot.it Nissans in my collection, and these will be used as a reference point for this entire project. If it turns out to look as half as good as these two, I'll be happy. Now I got myself some Microsol and Microset, and I'm using them to apply all the decals very, very carefully. And I should point out that we had no power after the storm for a number of days, and with nothing much else to do, I thought it'd be the perfect time to try and tackle these decals. So just diving straight in, starting with some slashes across the top of the roofline, on the boot and the bonnet there. I've added some very nice side decals, and the numbers will be layered over them later on. You can see I've put the 22 slightly layering over the slash, and I also managed to get a cotton tip and do that little badge there in silver. Now this livery is not based on any real world racing team or car. I'm just looking at the sheet and thinking, this might look good there, and that one might go there, and so on. And the number 22 is my birthday. I thought, well, being my first white kit, that might be appropriate. I didn't have too much trouble with these decals. They behaved most of the time. There was a couple of moments where, I could have thrown a lot out through the window. But folks, you gotta be patient and you gotta persevere. And here you see the finished result with the decals. I think it looks like a pretty darn good little racing car. And the next thing to do is the clear coat. Yes, indeed. This I'm worried about because I've heard all the horror stories. Not only that, it's clearly written on the top of the spray pack, do not spray on decals and stickers. So let's just go ahead and do it anyway. Yeah. Actually, I saw a great tutorial video from an excellent model builder who suggested do a very light, brief first clear coat. Let that set for 24 hours. That'll seal everything in, and then do the proper full coats after that, which is what you're looking at right here. This is 2 more full finished coats later. I ran out of clear coat. There was just enough in the can to get the project done, and I tell you what, it looks sensational. Best of all, there's no bubbling, there's no damage to the decals, decals, there's nothing, there's no peeling. It just turned out great. I guess I lucked out. So, are the horror stories true? I don't know. I can't tell you. All I can say is, first go, no issues, no problems, and that's 3 sprays or 3 coats of clear coat on the finished decals. Now it's time to finish assembling the kit, and right off the bat we're faced with yet another challenge. And that is, if you use super glue to do this, you're going to mess up all your glass there, all the windshields. It will go all frosty, it'll look like crap. So what do? Well, I asked Jeff Scriven for some advice, and what he suggested was to simply use some heavy duty PVA glue. It dries clear, you can put plenty on there, and it most certainly will not mess up the screens, as you can see. So a huge shout out and thank you to Jeff Scriven. It worked a treat, mate. Thank you very much. Next trick was to do all the lights, starting with the fog lamps, I guess they are. Then I put in the headlights. I was a bit worried about them being yellow, but now that they're in place, I think they look pretty darn good. The rear ones weren't too difficult to do, pretty easy really. They've got these little silver stickers that go on the outside, which I thought were a bit cheesy. It looks okay, but the good news is when I do a light kit with this vehicle, they can just peel off and you'll have those nice red rear lights shining out. I also plan to do some custom lights, some actual underglow lights, probably in bright blue. What do you reckon? One thing's for sure, you won't be able to miss it out on the track, that's for sure. Now, the only things left to do are these little fiddly grills or screens, these little plastic things, and once again we're going to use the heavy-duty PVA glue to adhere them in place. Remember, it does dry clear, but I don't know if they're going to stay in there all that well. We shall see. And at last, I managed to finish my very first white kit. And folks, please forgive me for thinking that I think it looks even better than the bought ones. Yeah, it turned out really nice. I'm chuffed. I'm blown away. Can't believe it turned out so good. These cars look great, of course, but I tell you what, this white kit is something else. It really, really pops, and I think that comes down to the choice of the metallic red. So folks, let's try it out on the track, and let's see if this slot car runs as good as it looks. I've taken the time to give it a good tune, I've adjusted the ride height at the front end, and other than that, this car is quite simply as good as I can possibly make it. Very, very pleased with how the paint job turned out. Love the decals. So let's sit back and see this little beastie in action. adventurers the Slot.it Nissan GTR Nismo GT3 white kit. It's turned out rather good. I'm very pleased with the results, but best of all, it's one heck of a slot car. Runs superbly, it's every bit as good as the other two, and I think I'll be doing some more white kits in the not too distant future. See you next time.